Hey everyone. Oh, that's hot. I'm really excited. We've got a new live stream. Looking forward to sharing this pretty basic form. I'd say it's like high beginner level, high beginner. And we'll get started just in a little bit. But before that, let's see who's here in the chat. Looks like our first member was Joe Turner today. 안녕하세요, welcome. As well as Paulina Carolina. Thanks for coming, everyone. People are still piling in here. We just started. And yes, again, if this is your first live stream, you're early today. So this is going to be a really cool lesson. And the prerequisites are very simple for this lesson. You need to know how to use the past tense. So I'll leave this up here. You actually have time right now to go learn the past tense. If you already know how to conjugate the regular form, the regular Yule form, then you can make this super easy. I have videos about it. You can find other videos about it. It's something you can learn in 5 minutes if you already know the regular Yule form conjugation. So yeah, that's the main thing you need to know today, and that's pretty much it. But still, it is a high beginner level. So I'm just letting you know it's not like a basic level. It's not something that you need to know when you're first learning how to introduce yourself. But in order to transition to the intermediate level for having full conversations, this is definitely a form that you're going to need to know. Welcome. Where's everyone from? Where's everyone watching from today? I like seeing where people are watching. One person commented, Ricardo said, from the Philippines, which is pretty cool. If you notice my voice, I don't know, maybe you don't even notice my voice. Last week we didn't have a live stream, so no one would have known, but I got some weird bug, and the only thing that it did was give me a sore throat, nothing else. So, but it's still kind of there. It's still a little bit there, so we'll see how that goes. Though now mostly my voice is pretty good now. Colombia, nice. England, Algeria, Korea. A couple people watching from Korea. Welcome. Vancouver, Chile. Bonnie said, 좋았어요. Okay, 좋았어요. I'm here. Welcome. The party didn't start until Bonnie came into the chat, so it's good to have you here. UK, Brazil. Brazil, home of the undercover police officer, I hear. That's the only thing I see if I search it. Dallas, Texas. Nice. Poland. Mexico. Where coincidentally, nobody believes me when I say this, but I'm actually pretty much half Hispanic. It sounds kind of ridiculous, and I look ridiculous to think about that. But yeah, my grandmother is actually fully Mexican as well. She passed away a long time ago, like probably when I was a teenager, or no, I think maybe I was 20-ish. Anyway, yeah. So still though, I've never set foot into Mexico before in my entire life, and I've been meaning to go. At the very least, I want to go there to down to Tijuana and get some tacos. I heard that their tacos are pretty good. Not that we don't have good tacos in California as well, but I heard those are a little more authentic. So, go Googie. I can't read your name. Asks, do you know some Spanish? No, not really. Only as much Spanish as the next gringo in California knows. You know, you grow up in Southern California. You grow up around a lot of people who speak Spanish, and you hear it. You know, you don't have to take classes or anything. So you pick up some words here and there, like you know some of the colors. You'll learn some of the numbers, of course. Uno, dos, tres. You know, I can count. Hola, mi llamo es Billy, como, you know, like that kind of thing. But no, I would not say I know any Spanish. The Netherlands. Keep it coming. Let me know where you're watching from. Got Pakistan. See, I think there's a lot of good food over there from what I've heard. Another place I've never been before. Most places I've never been. I've only been to a few other countries before. Korea being the one that I've stepped foot in the most, by far. India. Evian Paris, half Mexican. I didn't say half Mexican. I said Hispanic. So apologies. My voice, like I said, I lost part of my voice, but it's mostly coming back now. Not half Mexican, but Hispanic, because only my grandmother was fully Mexican, and my grandfather on that side would have been Spain-ish area. So yeah, but yes. Though like I said, I don't know any Spanish. And then, you know, on the other side of my family, I've got Russian roots, but I don't speak any Russian. I don't speak any Polish either or anything like that. So whatever. I'm just kind of a mix. In Korean, they would call that jampong. If you're familiar with the spicy soup that you can get along with jjajangmyeon or like 탕수육 at those places. One of the dishes you can get, which is really good, I recommend it if you like spicy food. It's called jampong, and it's kind of like a hot pot, but it's a specific type. And it has spicy soup and noodles in there, and there will be seafood in it. And it's really good, and it's going to stain all of your clothes. But they kind of use that as a metaphor for kind of a mix of a lot of different things. So, hey, Aquafina Derek. Is that like Aquafina, like the water? Like the bottled water that's subpar, along with Dasani? Or I still think it's a little bit ahead of Dasani, but is it for that water, or is this a different Aquafina? Is this like a different kind of water that I should try? Thank you, Aquafina Derek. Really appreciate it. Let me give you 5 dabs for your $5 donation. I'm sorry if you didn't like dabs. I just like doing it. It's funny. Hello from Oregon. The only thing I know about Oregon is everything I learned from that wonderful video game as a child. I learned that that the Oregon Trail was a very difficult trail. And I died multiple times. And when you die in Oregon Trail, everyone who's played Oregon Trail for real knows this, but it'll save whatever you write on your tombstone, it'll save that onto the computer. So the next kid who uses that computer can pass your tombstone on their way. So if you die really late in the game, no one sees it. But if you die really early on, which is kind of the fun thing to do, everyone will pass your tombstone and they'll see the funny message. You know, you can write Billy was here, or like, you know, some mean message or whatever you want to write for the next kid to read, just something silly. And yeah, had a lot of fun memories dying of dysentery in the Oregon Trail. Yeah, Lady Black, that's right, died of dysentery. Was there anything else you could die of? It was pretty much you get to the end and you're trying to cross the river, okay? So the game mostly is this. You're in a wagon and you have to collect supplies, so you can choose, do you want to go hunting and do you want to buy things when you get to a store? And at the very end of the game, you're supposed to cross this river with your wagon, and it gives you choices like, what would you like to do? Like lose the game instantly, or do you want to pay a ton of money to get across, or do you want to just try to brave the river by yourself? And all 3 options, well, you can't buy stuff. They don't give you opportunities to make much money, so pretty much you die unless you're really lucky. And So everyone gets to the river crossing, and that's when you all, one by one, you all die. And if you don't die right away, it'll say you died of dysentery. You know, it's just part of the game. Glass Artist. Thank you so much, Glass Artist. I like seeing your name pop up because, well, because it means a donation. I'm getting used to seeing your name, Glass Artist. And it's like I'll start salivating as soon as I see your name. Glass Artist, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Let me give you 20 dabs as a thank you as well. Do you have a message you'd like to share? After I do these dabs, I can read anything if you write it. Okay, let's get some music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10. All right. Thank you again. And if you just got here, we are not started yet. The lesson will begin in about 7 minutes. Prerequisites are on the board, or I should say prerequisite. There's only one thing you need for this lesson, and that's the past tense. But don't let that fool you. This is not a lesson for low beginner. It's still more of a high beginner lesson. Just letting you know that. And this topic we're actually doing has a lot of facets that go into the intermediate level. Now, we're not going to be talking about those today, although if you have questions, we can go into those during a Q&A afterward. But this topic is actually not as simple as you might think it is. If we actually explore, there's a lot more to it. I've just limited myself to within the beginner level for this lesson. So if you'd like, we can do an intermediate level that goes over more things. There are more ways to say almost and barely in Korean that are very common. Some of them sound even more natural in different situations. But in order to cover all of them, it would end up being a fully intermediate level. Maybe we could do that another time as a sequel, but we wouldn't have enough time to make it all as one lesson. Danny asks a good question. Are you planning to do a meeting in the US? No plans to do a meeting here. Are there enough people who would come to Los Angeles to do a fan meeting? I just think it's easier to do a fan meeting in Korea because there tend to be a lot of people that are over there. Speaking of which, I'm going over there again about a month from now. I'll be there from the very end of October for 3 weeks. And I'm going to be meeting some new people for collabs. I'm going to be filming a lot of new videos. And I am also still open to any suggestions if you have requests for videos you'd like me to film. I'm really excited to go there again, even though it'll have only been 3 months since I last was in Korea, and I'm going back again. Billy, why are you going back again? You were just there. You left Korea at the beginning of August. I know, but I just can't stay out of Korea. If I only go to Korea once a year, I extremely miss it. So I need to go twice. That's my rule for myself. For my mental well-being, I need to be in Korea twice a year. Hey, Kendra. Kendra, thank you. Let me put your name on the board and then I'll read your message. 449, well, we'll round up to 5 here, Kendra. This is the only place I actually retain information from, so thank you. Well, hopefully this lesson will be another one. I'm gonna want you to make all of these sentences today. So it's gonna be a fun lesson we've got. I'm really excited for it. Thank you again, Kendra. And Evolving Brain. Thank you, Evolving Brain. I just saw your name pop up right when I was doing those dabs. Evolving Brain, thank you for the donation, and I'll read your message in a second. Evolving Brain. What kind of person is behind the screen of Evolving Brain? It's like a 13-year-old girl with pigtails and glasses. I love your lessons, Billy. No, I have no idea. Have you noticed Korean speakers will emphasize a final neon sound dentally? Hang. Okay, my theory is that this visually distinguishes it from the iang, which is another common. I think I see what you're talking about. What you're describing is related to how the Hangul letters were created, like the form, the shape of the letters, where I guess this isn't something that's taught normally, and personally, I don't think you need to know it, but it's very interesting. When Hangul letters were created, they weren't just randomly picked. Like King Sejong didn't just say, okay, well, this makes a K sound. You know, there was nothing like that. It was supposed to kind of match. There's the mouth, and wow, I don't know what's wrong with this guy's face. Okay, he needs a nose. Okay. He looks like he's screaming, and I would if this were me too. So there's their teeth. And the letters are kind of made to imitate like where your tongue is in your mouth, how your mouth shapes. For example, normally the letter iang, and this with a little line on it were separate letters. You had one of them which was the ng sound that you're familiar with, like hang, hung, that kind of sound. And then the other would have been, actually I believe it might be, I can't remember if it's this one. I think it's this way, the other way around. But anyway, and then the other one was an empty sound, which you know. So this would be like put before ah, to make those ah. And this was supposed to kind of represent nothing, like a round kind of shape to your mouth without any form to it. So you're referring to the N having a sound that's kind of made with your tongue between your teeth. So instead of, normally it would be like han, where your tongue is kind of up here toward the back of your teeth, han. So if you say like han, hanguk, for example, hanguk. What you're saying, what about some people who will emphasize it kind of between their teeth? So not up there, but instead, hang. Is this what you're referring to? Hang, like kind of almost like this? Is this what you're referring to? Let me know before I say anything else. Or is it something else you're referring to? Avion, you want to have you want to play bingo where every time I say those words, dab, Korea, kikat, and donation, and died of dysentery, that's very specific. Go ahead, make a bingo board. You can share it on my Discord with anyone who's watching. Let's see if this is what evolving brain is referring to or something else, because you could be referring to something else. I will say something like biting your tongue softly. Han. No, that would be the same thing as han with your mouth open or closed. It would be the same sound. So I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to or something else, but we can talk about either one. One thing that's kind of related to this poor guy this guy is probably dying of dysentery. One thing that's kind of related is I've heard a lot of people ask, what about the sound nian? How come sometimes the sound nian, this letter here, how come it can sometimes sound like this? I've heard some people say Hanguk, but they'll say, how come it sounds to me like they're saying Hanguk? They're not really. If we change this into romanization, it's pretty cool. You can kind of see what's happening. It's a trick that's going on in your mind, but it's not actually happening. The sound's not changing. Another example would be the word 친구. It's this sound plus this sound, the N plus the G. People sometimes hear it, mishear it as 친구. And sometimes people will write it jokingly this way too, 친구. Because when you say 친구, it kind of sounds like 친구, right? But it's not. They're actually not saying that. There is no sound change rule that changes it to this. What actually is just happening is it's your ear hearing this N sound, hearing this NG sound. Sorry. Hearing this K or G sound and putting them together in your mind and interpreting this as NG together as one sound. Because what is this sound? It is the NG sound. It's like song, sorry. If you were to make, let's just do one that's actually a real word, kang for river, kang. What is that sound? It's an NG sound, right? Kang, if you make it by itself, kang. So it is pretty much like kang with that coming after it, but it's not. So they're not actually saying hanguk, they're saying hanguk, but that hanguk coming right after it makes you, the non-native speaker, causes you to hear that as if it were this letter. So it's not, but it's a common thing that tricks people. And there are a lot of things like this too that I've heard. It's related to, For example, you might hear the p-up sound and think it sounds like a mium. Or you might hear the nian sound. I'm not sure if you can actually see that down there. You might hear the nian sound and think it sounds like a tigat. For example, someone might say de, de, de. And it sounds like de, right? It sounds like a D. And these are related to the way that these sounds are made in the first place and not being adjusted to how those are made in Korea. So this would be a really big topic. I've actually done a video about this sort of thing before already, but this would be a different type of topic that maybe I can make a video about in another day. But it's really interesting. Let's see. Evolving Brain says, I'm thinking about the final nian literally ending with the tongue out. Interesting. So instead of han, 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 the sound would be the same. Han, 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 han. The sound's the same, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, so whether you say it with your tongue out of your mouth like that, or say it with your tongue behind your teeth, it comes out the same. The reason is, and this is part of what causes a lot of this is part of what causes people to think that the nian sound sounds like a tigat sometimes, is that we write this letter as an N in English, right? But it's not. If this were English, we would say it as han, han, with a hard N, right? That's bad. You don't want to do that. Instead, it's actually very soft in Korean. This is only an N-ish sound. It's only an ish. It's not a strong N. So instead of han, like we would do in English, it's simply han. Now, wherever your tongue is, han, 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 han. I'm moving my tongue around in my mouth right now. I have it on the top of my mouth. It does not do that. Han. Still han. Now right behind my teeth, han, the normal way. Now in between my two sets of teeth, my upper and my lower teeth, han, han. Same sound. Now on the bottom of my mouth, han. You can't really see it on the camera too well. I don't blame you. I don't want to get that close. But believe me, I'm moving it into different parts of my mouth. Let's try the left cheek. Han, han, han. Okay, there it starts sounding a little bit different. But the other ones are identical. The reason is there is no strong ending to this sound. While the overall sound that the N makes is the same in English as it is in Korean, the ending, we do this in English, we'll make a strong ending at the end. So N, you hear that vibrating sound, right? You hear that vibration we get han when we do in English. You don't really do that much in Korean. The most important thing is just the sound it makes, not that end sound. So whether you finish this letter or the beginning of a word, instead of na, we don't do na in Korean, it's just na. And I can start that na, 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 anywhere in my mouth and it makes the same sound because the ending of that sound, the vibrating part, that strong end sound is not present in Korean, so it doesn't make a difference. But this, because its sound is soft in Korean, it leads a lot of people to mishear it as a D or as other letters because they're used to hearing a stronger sound that's associated with this letter in English. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but at least it should be an interesting thing to talk about. I'm not sure how many of you have noticed that kind of thing before. Just one more reason why romanization is it's useful, but it's not the best choice. Okay, well, I'm already over time, so I need to get started on my lesson today. We've got a really cool lesson I'm excited to teach everyone. That is how to say almost and barely. There are two forms that we need to learn for this topic. And the first one uses verbs. And it's easy to make. You take a verb stem and you'll attach either or a lir to the verb stem. And this just depends on whether that verb stem ends in a consonant or a vowel as usual. So if it ends in a consonant, you'll attach and if it ends in a vowel, you'll attach just a lir. Then you'll add a space followed by the verb bonhada. Bonhada. And then you will conjugate this. How will it conjugate? Well, it'll conjugate to to some form of the past tense. So that could be 했어요, 했습니다, 했어요, a question form, 했네요, whatever you want to do. 했으니까, anything like that, as long as it's something in the past tense. And then you're done. I should note that there is a separate verb, 뻔하다, not related to this lesson. That means to be obvious, like to be like duh. 뻔하다 would be a word you'd say, oh, like it's obvious, it's clear, of course, that sort of meaning. Something is 뻔하다. You'd say, 너무 뻔해. Like it's, wow, that's so obvious. Like I can't believe you're trying to trick me with that. 뻔하다. That's not this verb. Just keep that in mind. This one is a different verb for that. This verb means, well, this form means to almost do something or to barely do something, as in you were really close to doing something, by mistake. Specifically, this is used for things that the speaker did not want to happen. So you wouldn't say, I almost watched that movie today. Like if you wanted to watch it, this would be for something that you didn't intend to happen. So you almost tripped. I was almost late. I almost lost that. I almost forgot. Something big happened, right? Something you don't want to happen. So something almost happened, but fortunately it did not. That's what this form expresses. Okay, you can take a second to write this up. Let's see, I think that's all I need to talk about for here. A couple more notes, but just write this up for now. See how the chat's going. Hey, MJ Hammer. My friend does that tongue thing with un or on. The text is really small on this thing. When she speaks. Yeah. Mary Laura. It's actually not happening. Unless you're talking about sound change rules now. There are sound change rules where the nian will affect the letter it comes after. For example, if it comes after, before a lir, then sometimes those will work together. Sometimes most of the time they'll both change to a lir, but sometimes you have cases where it'll double into a double nian. If you're talking about that, otherwise, no, it's not transforming into that. You could be talking about other letters that come before the nian, like nasal consonants. Yeah, those could be, like if you have a kiuk plus a nian, so that would become, the kiuk would become an iang before the nian, but the nian wouldn't change. If you're talking about that, when sounds come before a nasal sound like miam or nian, then those sounds can change depending on sound change rules. But in this sort of case with a nian and a kiuk like that, like nian plus kiuk afterward, no, it wouldn't change. It's simply something that you're interpreting in your mind. But I just want to make that clear because you might be thinking of sound change rules, in which case, yes, that's 100% correct. There are sound change rules that can change it. Let's see, Fantasy World's still talking about the tongue thing. You're saying pronouncing the nian with your tongue out makes it harder to transition to a different letter. Yes, which is one of the reasons why people don't do that. If I were trying to say 친구 and I said 친구, that would be hard to transition. Although the sound ultimately is the same. It doesn't change, whether naturally or by sound change rules. It's still 친구. That would be hard to say, so people don't do that. But at the end of the word, it doesn't matter. So good point, though. It does help with transitioning by putting the tongue in the correct spot. Not I almost won. Yes, Bonnie, that's a good example. You wouldn't use this form to say I almost won. I was this close to winning. I almost won. No, for that you could use our second form. But this form is, again, when something's not what you wanted. Hey, Evolving Brain. Oh, you didn't have to. That's so nice of you. You already gave a really nice donation. If I see you've got another comment. So we're going to talk about that for a second then. Thank you, Evolving Brain. Let me do 20 quick dabs, and then I will read your note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, pen. Okay, Evolving Brain says, my interpretation is Korean basically doesn't have the long-voiced final consonants. Oh, you're getting into linguistics here. I'm not the best person for that. I only have basic linguistic knowledge when it comes to Korean. My knowledge is on grammar, vocabulary, expressions, you know, that type of thing. Linguistics, though, would be a completely different field. I do know some people who are very knowledgeable in that, though. So, long-voiced final consonants. Okay. No Korean word ending in an English D or P sound. This generalizes to nium and mium being actually less comparatively voiced shorter. I'd have to think about that. Yeah, sounds don't tend to flow. Yeah, sounds would not be long at the end. You wouldn't have any of that. You could have final, you can only have longer final vowels or vowels within words. You can have words that have certain sounds that are supposed to be pronounced longer or shorter, but that would never be a consonant at the end of a word, if that makes sense. And that's only due to the fact that Korean, why are we going on all this stuff? Korean, so okay, so this is really cool. Maybe most learners don't know this. Korean today has no tones, right? Although technically in some dialects, you'll hear pieces of tones that still remain. But standard Korean, we're talking standard Korean. Originally in standard Korean, there were tones to the language. We're talking hundreds of years ago. Korean had tones, like Chinese today. You know, you might say shi, shi, shi. You know, all of those shi, and those are all different sounds, different words. Korean had those. Funnily enough, at that time, Korean had them and Chinese did not. So what went on there, I have no idea. But Korean used to have tones. And as a remnant of Korea's old tone system that it used to have, all that's left over now of that the only thing we can see as a remnant of that is some sounds in Korean can be longer or shorter. So a word with a longer sound can mean something different than the same word with a shorter sound. And that happens in some words, and it's not really that important to be aware of, but it does happen. But yeah, today there wouldn't, I can't think of any, at least I'm trying kind of in the hot seat right now. I'm trying to think if there are any that I can come up with. Long voiced final consonants. No, I can't think of any consonants that would be expressed longer. Everything's quite short. Everything ends really abruptly. So yeah, talk to me more. Any other ideas? Let me know, Evolving Brain. I'm curious. Yes. Yeah, Tae gives one example, like nun or nun. And yeah, that would be the, hold on. Nuni wayo. So that would be the longer one would be snow. Let me verify that. I don't keep in my mind which ones are the long ones and which were the short ones. I simply would say it. So I need to test if what I just said was correct. Hold on, 1 second. Yes. Yes. And let me verify for snow as well. Yes. Okay. So for snow, so I just said nuniwayo, so that would be the longer one. If you said, you wouldn't say nuniwayo. I mean, you could, but you wouldn't say nunwayo, nuniwayo. It wouldn't be a short sound. That nun is I, nun is snow. Now they sound the exact same, and honestly, no one cares. But there is a slight difference if you want to be like 100% native sounding, or at least closer, that some sounds in Korean are said longer or shorter. And that's because originally these would have been toned. These would have had a different tone to them. Now, whatever that tone originally was, I don't know. Maybe it was like, nun, I don't know. Nun, who knows? Whatever it was. I'm sure someone knows, but I'm not in that field. And yeah, some sounds can have, and there's a lot of them. It's not like one or two. There are a lot of them, but it's not that important. But if you keep an eye out for it, what you should be looking for, if you're curious about that, is anytime you see colon in the pronunciation guide of any word, that means a long sound. And you'll find tons of words that have that in them, that it's supposed to be pronounced slightly longer. But if you don't, no one's going to misunderstand what you're saying ever. So don't worry about it. Okay, so back to the lesson. There is a space here before 뻔하다, but it's actually optional. Now, to be fully 100% proper Korean, put a space. And I think it looks nicer and is more easy to read with a space. But it's not required. So if you don't want to use the, what am I saying? So if you don't want to use the space, feel free to leave it out. That means you could write something like this. 할 뻔했어요. And you could add a space here or not, and it has the same meaning. I recommend it. I think it's easier to read it as 2 words, but don't get on anyone's back if they don't space it. It's acceptable. Okay, we're not done with this form. So, oh wait, yeah, we are. That's everything we need to know about this form. Okay, sorry. I was all excited to tell you one more thing about this form, but no, that's actually really all there is to it. And it's pretty simple. I would say though, in order to use it in sentences, you're going to need to be a higher beginner to use it in sentences, just because it doesn't go into a sentence with simply one word, 뻔했어요, the end. That's not really going to make a sentence. You're going to need a little more substance than that. And in order to do that, you're going to need to be at least, I'd say, a high beginner level. So the first sentence I have for you, get your pens ready, or your pencils, or your brush pens, or whatever you're using to write. You are going to write our first sentence. And I'm going to give you one verb. To be late is the verb 늦다. 늦다. 늦다 means to be late. So to be late to school. I was almost late to school. Go. How would you write it? I know you can do this, assuming you know how to conjugate, and you wrote down the form that I told you, you can do this. Okay, let me check the chat while you're figuring that out. Surprisingly, despite my long explanation about everything, we're still on time because I scheduled everything knowing that I might ramble on about random stuff during the first 10 minutes. So it worked out okay. I should schedule everything like that. Esteban. Esteban. I love that name. Are you in Korea? It's so early to study. I'm not in Korea right now. I'll be in Korea again in a month. I am in Korea about a third now of every year. So yeah, if you flip a 3-sided coin and it comes up heads, then I'm in Korea. You can figure it out that way. About a third of every year I'm in Korea. I just can't deal with being away from Korea for more than 6 months. It just really gets to me. As soon as it's like for a few months, I'm good. Like I come back and I'm like, okay, now I can stay here, eat in and out, enjoy the beach weather, everything like that. It's so nice, But then after like 4 or 5 months, I start feeling like, oh, I really need to get back to Korea. It's really bothering me. So I try not to be away from Korea for more than 5 months or so at a time. Okay, I'm seeing your sentences slowly coming in. MJ Hammer, I think you're actually the first one. Nice. I don't want to read it out loud, but you're doing really good. Oh, Sue Amazing, watch your politeness level. So you want to make sure it matches with your sentence, but good. You have 저는 and 했어, so that wouldn't match. So you can change one or the other. Evolving Brain, 학교에 늦을 뻔 해요. You could do that, but you remember past tense. So the 하다 at the end will be conjugated to any form of the past tense that you would like. And 99% of the time that's going to be 했어요, but it could be, 했습니다 or any other form like that, depending on the context. Kendra says, I was going to copy and pretend I know the answer. Oh no, feel free to copy it. Just if you want to copy someone else's answer, at the very least, type it. That way you're still writing the sentence. And it's okay to copy someone else's, but at first try not to. And if you can't, then yeah, look at other people's answers and see what they have. Evolving Brain, my family goes with me in the summer, and I go by myself for this next trip. Carrie, 전 학교에 늦을 뻔했어요. Very natural. I like you used 전 there. Very natural sentence. 늦을 뻔했어요. 늦을 뻔했어요. Riot. 학교에 늦을. Oh yeah, you forgot the. I see. But you caught it, so your sentence is good. I'll give you points for that. Okay. I was almost late to school. Excellent, everyone. You did really good. 학교에 to school, 늦다, to be late. 늦을 뻔했어요. 학교에 늦을 뻔했어요. I was almost late to school. I was almost late to school. 학교에 늦을 뻔했어요. Perfect. Next sentence. Again, I just want you to do all of these. Is that okay? I want you to do every sentence. I have 8 sentences total, 7 more. 3 more for this form and 4 for the next form. I want you to do all of the sentences today. They're all common. Every single one of these sentences would be something that you could use or, adjust slightly. Like, for example, this one is bus. Well, you could change this to say, I almost missed the subway, or I almost missed the train, or the taxi, or whatever. All of these sentences, though, are super common. I almost missed the bus. Now, to miss, don't say 보고 싶다. I missed the bus. I really, really couldn't wait to see the bus again. It was my bus senpai, right? No, it's not miss as in want to see. It's a different verb, and that is 놓치다. 놓치다. To miss the bus, to miss something specifically, like you couldn't catch it, you missed it. You missed an opportunity, you missed your chance, you missed a bus, anything like that would be 놓치다. So I almost missed the bus. I almost missed the bus. Again, this is expressing not something that was on purpose. It's something that's by mistake, something you didn't want to happen. So something almost happened, missing the bus, but fortunately it didn't. So this means you did get the bus, but you almost missed it, and you didn't intend to miss the bus. Okay, let's see what your sentences are. They're coming in. Mary Laura. Spelling. 놓치다. But yes, perfect sentence. Perfect sentence, Mary Laura. There is a difference between, and I know you know this, 놓다 and 놓다. In fact, if you go to Busan, where people pronounce these kind of the same way, they sound similar, but they're different. 놓다 is to insert, to put something in, like you put your bag into a hole, or you put your shoes into the cabinet or something like that. Or, you put the USB drive into the computer. Any sort of inserting things, you insert your card. With this, 놓다 is to put something down. Now, it's not related to this verb, it's just the spelling. 놓다 would be placing something down, like putting it down on the floor, on a table, anything like that. But this is not this verb. These are different. I'm just letting you know for spelling. And I would always get these two confused when I was a beginner. 놓다 and 놓다. The reason is they sound so similar. And especially when I was a beginner, I didn't have great pronunciation, so I couldn't even say them differently, let alone understand when someone else said it to me. But it helped me to remember by looking at this. Looking at the vowel can tell you which one is which. 놓다 uses this vowel. Oh, and it's like up. So you can think of it as like you're putting something down on the ground, like you're laying this stick. Like here's your stick and you're putting it down on the ground. 놓다. Whereas this one, 놓다, is sideways. So I would imagine it like I'm putting something into something sideways, right? So that always helped me to remember the difference between these two. And completely unrelated to the lesson today because we're doing 놓치다, which is neither of those verbs, but you get the idea. Okay, I'm reading all your sentences. Carrie, okay, there you go. 버스를 놓칠 뻔했어요. Perfect. Let's check everyone else's. MJ Hammer, perfect. Paulina Carolina, perfect. Did I miss anyone else's? Hold on. Okay, yeah. All right, I've checked my members. Now let's see the other ones. 놓칠 뻔했어요. 놓칠 뻔했어요. Nice. 놓칠 뻔했다. Nice. Using the plain form. Lauren Holton says, can you use this to say, I was almost late to this class? Yes. Exactly the same as the last sentence, but instead of 학교에, instead of to school, you can say 이 수업. 수업 would be a class. So a class or a course. 이 수업에 늦을 뻔했어요. I almost was late to this class. You can even say 늦게 도착할 뻔했어요. I almost arrived late to this class if you want to be, add an extra verb in there, but it's not necessary. I was almost late or I almost arrived late. Same thing. Awesome. I don't see anything that stands out that I need to correct. You all did an excellent idea. An excellent job. I don't know why I had that weird thought to say idea instead of job. Okay. I almost missed the bus. 버스를 놓칠 뻔했어요. 버스. Notice I just said bus, not bus. In fact, you'll find that many foreign words in Korean are pronounced with a double consonant, although they're not written that way. Bus is one of them. I've actually made a video all about that topic, which is in the Korean FAQ series. I think I uploaded it earlier this year. You can check that out if you want to see some other examples. So when it's read, it's bus, but it's spelled as bus. No one would say bus though. You will never ever hear bus. 버스 놓칠 뻔했어요. Never. You'll only hear 버스. It is so, it's just way too common. It sounds awkward to say 버스. 버스를 놓칠 뻔했어요. 놓치다 is to miss. So you missed an opportunity. You missed the bus. You missed the subway or anything. You missed your chance to become a K-pop celebrity, right? Oh, this brought back so many sad memories. Okay, 버스를 놓칠 뻔했어요. I almost missed the bus. Next sentence. I almost dropped my cell phone. Now the verb you're going to need here is dropped. I'm going to tell you what that is. Cell phone is just, 핸드폰. 핸드폰. Literally hand phone. 핸드폰. Dropped. 떨어뜨리다. It's also 떨어뜨리다. 떨어뜨리다 is what you want to use. 떨어뜨리다. Almost rolling my R's there. 떨어뜨리다 is how to say to drop something. It slipped. Oops. Whoopsie daisy. I almost dropped my cell phone. Almost. Now, fortunately, I didn't, and I didn't want to drop it, but I almost did. That was close. 떨어뜨리다. I almost dropped my cell phone. How would you say that? Mira Raj, you are a K-pop celeb to me, King. Thank you. That means a lot. I want to finish these sentences. I'm excited to get to the next part of the lesson already. 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. Nice, MJ Hammer and Paulina Carolina. Both perfect sentences. I know this is a little short, but this is really all there is to the form. If you can make these sentences, you can use this form perfectly. And I want you to have this form mastered before this lesson's finished. All of you will have this form down like, you'll know it like the back of your hand before today's over. I promise you. 핸드폰 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. Perfect, Bonnie. Carrie. 제 핸드폰. I noticed that you added in my cell phone. 제 핸드폰. Good. Okay. You did use a word that means to drop. 떨어지다 is intransitive. That means something dropped. So you could say 제 핸드폰이 떨어질 뻔했어요. My cell phone almost dropped. 떨어지다. But if you almost dropped your cell phone, so you want to say I dropped it with an object marker, not it dropped with the subject marker, then you would use 떨어뜨리다. But 떨어지다 is also another great verb. So you can say 떨어질 뻔했어요. It almost dropped. Like be careful, it almost fell on the floor. That sort of thing. What's dysentery in Korean? Now I'm suddenly curious. Dysentery. It might help if I spell it wrong. Okay. It's spelled as dysentery. Interesting. 이질. Ah! Let's see the hansa for that. Interesting. I guess it's some dysentery amoeba or something? I don't know. Anyway. You have died from one thing though is I don't think Korea had Oregon Trail. I don't think they had to go through that. Okay, I'm gonna check all the rest of your sentences now. Excellent. 핸드폰을 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. Perfect. Perfect. Jalen McGill 했더라고. You wouldn't use 더라고요. I mean, there could be a circumstance where you could use it, but you don't need to use that ever to say, I dropped my cell phone. Just letting you know. Not always adding more grammar, more advanced grammar, will make the sentence sound more advanced. In this case, it's simply the way it is. You just conjugate the past tense or any form of the past tense and you're done. Now, there could be a situation where you would use that, but not in a regular sentence to say, I dropped my cell phone. Hey, Nikki. Oregon Trail, yeah. Once you've died, they take your organs and donate them to science. It's just one big... I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Okay, I almost dropped my cell phone. Can you believe it? So we have cell phone. Again, I said that's 핸드폰. My writing's getting worse as I'm pushing harder on this pen. I should switch this pen soon. 핸드폰을, so your hand phone, your cell phone, 떨어뜨리다, to drop it on the floor. 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. I almost dropped my cell phone. 핸드폰을 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. 핸드폰을 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. I almost dropped my cell phone. That's what you scream out loud while you're on the subway because you're practicing this sentence while going to work. 핸드폰을 떨어뜨릴 뻔했어요. I almost dropped my cell phone. Okay. Last one for this form. Last one before we go on to our next form. This one's a trick question, so I'm going to give you some hints. This is the expression that you're actually translating, but it's not literally like this in Korean. That was close. Whoa, that was close, right? You've narrowly avoided danger. You've narrowly gotten past a dangerous situation. Oh, that was so close. I almost died, or whatever you want to say. You could just say I almost died, but that's not what this is. This is a different form in Korean where they actually literally say, they say something like, that almost became a big problem, is what they say in Korean to express, well, that was close. I mean, it was almost a huge problem. It wasn't, fortunately, but it was really close to being a big problem. And the way you do it, I'm going to give you the phrase. I don't know if you already know it. Bonnie got it. Okay, but one person got it. Bonnie got it. Okay, let me tell you what they say. So they use a different verb. 큰 일. Literally a big thing, a big deal. And then 나다. To occur, to happen. So something big happens is what this means. Like a big deal happens. So in order to say that was close, like, wow, that was almost a big problem, literally. Oh man, that was close. What they actually say is there almost occurred a big issue. Something big almost happened, is what they say. So how would you say that? I've pretty much given you the whole sentence, but you still have to do it. You still want to write it. And I would memorize this exact form. Now, technically it would be 큰일 이 나다, subject marker, but you don't hear that used. Yes. MJ Hammer, you're like, 큰일 될 뻔했어. I don't know, LOL. Close. I like that you still gave it a good attempt using 되다. I know what you're thinking there. Yes, Carrie. 큰일 날 뻔했어요. Perfect. Not 큰일 일 뻔했어요. Not 이다, but 나다 here. So the verb you use is simply 큰일 나다. Now the pronunciation, due to sound change rules, because you have this plus this, most of the time, this makes both of them into this letter. There are many cases where it doesn't. There are some cases where it makes them both into this letter, but most of the time it's this letter. So the sound you end up with is 큰일 나다 when you read it. 큰일 났어. If you want to say 큰일 났어, that was a huge deal. That was a big problem. Uh-oh. 큰일 났어. Oh my goodness. 큰일 났어. But if you want to say it was almost a big deal, that was close. 큰일 날. You still get that lir sound due to how the sounds interact naturally. 큰일 날 뻔했어요. So I'm going to write that up. Most of you already got that though. 큰일 날 뻔했어요. 큰일, and then these letters together make the double lir sound. 큰일 날 뻔했어요. So literally, there almost was a big deal, a big issue, a big thing. 큰일 날 뻔했어요. 큰일 날 뻔했어요. That was close. Literally, there almost was something big that happened, but it didn't, fortunately. Okay, that is everything for this form. If you got all four of those sentences, or if you missed it, if you understand why you missed it, you have now officially mastered the 뻔하다 form. But we're not done. There's one more form that you can use to say almost when it's not something that's by mistake. And that is 거의. 거의 simply attaches before an action verb. There. And yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I just lost my train of thought for a second. I'm like, what am I doing now? This means almost or barely when something wasn't on accident. So perhaps when something's on purpose. And it can be used with an action verb to mean that. Or sure, let me say it again. So 거의 can mean almost, like you've almost done something when used with an action verb if it was on purpose, so it wasn't on accident. With the descriptive verb, however, this means almost or barely when something is almost something. Like it's almost that. It's almost something with descriptive verbs. This will make a little more sense once you start seeing examples. This one doesn't require any special conjugation. You simply attach 거의. It doesn't have to be in the past tense either, like 뻔하다. This is it. The only thing you need to learn is this word here, 거의, which is an adverb. That's it. Let me give you the first sentence to translate. So here's the first example. It's almost similar. If you don't know the verb for similar, you can change it to it's almost the same. If you can think of that verb, I'll let you get away with that. So feel free to say similar or the same. It's almost the same or it's almost similar. Again, there are no tricks to using this. With the descriptive verb, again, it's you're saying something is almost something. And with an action verb, you're saying someone almost or barely does something. They didn't, but they almost did, but it wasn't on accident. So it was something on purpose. Let's see what you've got. Go ahead and give that a try. I was excited to teach this one because it's so surprisingly simple that you just need one word. So again, just for another review, in case you missed it, 뻔하다 is for something that you almost do by a mistake. So you didn't mean to, you didn't want that to happen. And 거의 is for any other situation. So you did mean for it to happen, you almost did it. Or something barely almost is something like that. Paulina. Avion says, I almost lost my train of thought. No, I lost my train of thought. That was not an almost. I almost forgot what I was doing. I almost, something else like that. But I definitely lost my train of thought. Okay. Isai, again, if it's an accident, you would not use this form. So your example would not be correct because it uses an accidental usage, in which case it would just be 뻔하다. You can say 떨어뜨릴 뻔 해서 whatever, because of this, then whatever. But you wouldn't use 거의 if it was something that you were intending. You wouldn't intend to drop your phone. Che asks, do Korean people use 거의 very often? Every day, all the time. It is extremely common. Now, depending on what you're listening to, you might not hear it. Like just because a word, for example, the word almost. How common is the word almost in English? You can hear it every day if you're paying attention to it. But that doesn't mean you're always going to hear it in everything you're listening to in every sentence. So yeah, but very common. Bonnie. Praise Dara. Nice. Paulina Carolina. I believe I already read yours. I read yours first, actually. Yours was the first one that caught my eye. 거의 똑같아. Yeah. 거의 비슷하다. Call in, cool, since 비슷하다 is a descriptive verb. You have it conjugated, though, as an action verb. So you'd want to just say 비슷하다. 하다 by itself would be the descriptive verb plain form. MJ Hammer. 거의 비슷해요. Perfect. Carrie. 그것은 거의 비슷한 것 같. You're trying to be all fancy on me. Trying to be all fancy. But fortunately, you got it perfect. That's very, very good. 그것은 거의 비슷한 것 같아요. I think it's almost similar. I think. Very nice. Very nice. I think you have the longest example too. Yes, Paulina, it's an adverb, so it comes right before a verb. Yeah, Sue was asking, what if we were to put 거의 at the end? No, adverbs in Korean, not just this adverb, but every adverb in Korean is used before the verb. Putting an adverb after a verb sounds like you're switching around what you're trying to say. It sounds like you thought of it late. For example, if I was saying like, oh, I ran to the store quickly. Okay, in English you can do it. I ran quickly to the store. I ran to the store quickly. It's okay. But imagine you said, I ran to the store. Oh, quickly. That's what it sounds like using the adverb at the end. It sounds like you forgot to say it and you're now quickly trying to add it to the end. But it also sounds awkward because usually when someone says something incorrect, they wouldn't just add the word like that. They would actually repeat that section, that whole part of the sentence in Korean. This is just a different way of thinking that Koreans have when they speak. It's that when they make a mistake speaking, in English, what we do is we'll simply repeat that word. We'll say, ooh, oh no, and we'll change the word and continue exactly where we were, right? Not in Korean. Korean, it's more common when you make a mistake saying something, you start over. You say the whole thing again that you were trying to say, or at the very least, that entire section that you were trying to say, if you make a mistake, because it's clearer that way. It's just a different type of speaking. So one thing I noticed, this is really funny, but when I was a beginner in Korea, let me switch my windows here. When I was first in Korea, and obviously I don't know very much. I can't understand. So people would be talking to me and I'd ask someone a question. Oh, by the way, you just said this word. What does this mean? And they tell me, sometimes they would say something and I would miss it, but I would get everything else they said. So they would have this really long sentence they're talking about. And then in there, they would say like one word that I didn't know. For example, oh, I went to the market and I bought, 배추, I bought 과자, I bought 포도, I bought 상추, and I'd be like, oh, hold on, what is that? 방금 뭐라고 하셨어요? 상주, 상취? Like, I didn't know the word. I was trying to repeat. Instead of just saying 상주 and continuing, no. That's not what Koreans do. They repeat literally everything. I went to the store and I bought and they'll say it in a different way as well because, they're not going to remember exactly how they said it. So that's something you'll also encounter if you miss a word in Korea and you ask someone, can you repeat that word? Just expect this is going to happen and don't get frustrated by it. They're going to repeat the entire thing. They're going to assume you didn't understand anything they said. Not that you missed a word. They're going to understand you missed the entire sentence or the entire section, and they're going to repeat that entire thing for you. It's just a different style of speaking. Whereas in English, we tend to be a little more efficient with breaks. We talk a lot more. We have more words we have more filler words and stuff in our sentences. And if we mess up, we just replace one word and continue. What was that word? Oh, cabbage. Okay, moving on, right? That's it. Or actually, lettuce would be 상추, 배추 would be cabbage. But anyway, oh yeah, lettuce. And then blah, 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 blah. And you keep going and assume they got the rest of it. It's just a different style of thinking for speaking. Has anyone else noticed that? Have you had that happen to you when you're trying to ask questions in Korean? Let me give you this sentence while you're thinking about that. It's almost the same, or it's almost similar. This sentence is so short, but it still is a regular usage of this form. 거의 비슷해요. 거의. Almost 비슷하다. To be similar. It's almost similar. It's almost like the same is kind of what you're saying. 거의 비슷해요. So you're not saying it's almost by accident. You're simply saying it is. It's almost something. In this case, it's a descriptive verb, to be similar. So you're saying something almost is something. It almost is similar or almost the same. 거의 비슷해요. It's almost similar. Okay, next one. I almost didn't eat, or I barely ate. I barely ate. Now, in order to say I barely ate, you're not going to say I almost ate, right? I almost ate. You're saying I almost didn't eat. So don't just use 거의 먹다. That wouldn't quite make sense. I barely did eat. I mean, I guess it kind of could make sense, but no, you wouldn't use it. Usually say I almost didn't eat. So I did eat, but it's like I almost didn't. I didn't eat very much. It was too fast, like that. Okay, let's see who's got it. Bonnie was first. Bonnie Rumsfeld said, I hear mani or ama as an afterthought. That's because those, you can use those for emphasis. So you wouldn't use 거의 as emphasis unless it was in that context. Like, 오늘 아침 그냥 안 먹었어요. 뭐 거의. That's okay. Because you're not saying 거의 안 먹었어요. You're saying I didn't eat. But, barely I didn't eat. So you're adding it on as a secondary thought. But you can think of it as a fragment of a sentence. If someone does that, like someone says blah 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 blah, ama, it's a fragmented sentence. It's not like they're sticking ama back into that sentence. They're saying maybe. That's it. A separate fragmented sentence. If you had the full sentence to that, it would be ama, and then they would repeat what it is that they're saying maybe is about. So that's what it is. Don't think of that the adverb as being used after the verb. It's simply a whole separate fragmented sentence. 거의. That's it. ama. Whatever it is that you want to say. So yeah, it's not part of the same sentence, but it would be thought of as an afterthought, separate sentence that's not finished. Like you're thinking to yourself, kind of. Evolving brain, yes, I've thought about that. No, a Korean would do the same thing to another Korean as well. unless you were to specifically ask, what was that one word you said right here that sounds like this? Then you can get that. Then you can get your answer that you're looking for. And then they'll say, 상추, like that. They'll say it like that. If you simply say, what was that word, sang, and you're like pretending, well, you're acting like you can't understand that word, you get the whole thing. So it's how you word it. And it's simply just how they want to give their whole thought at once. But really, I don't know the whole reason. It's just we think a little differently. English sentence to you. And if you're talking about for English, when we would do that to someone else, not to someone who's already speaking the language though. If someone's speaking English to us, even if they're not a native speaker, and they said, well, what was that word you said? We probably wouldn't repeat the whole sentence. We would say what? What word? Oh, we would just say that, and then we'd continue. But it might be different in other countries. I don't know. I'm only speaking as an American. I would assume the same happens for other English-speaking countries, but I don't know. Let's see. Avian Paris, could I also use tushida? No, you could not. Because tushida would be for honorific usage. That would have to be for talking about someone else. So you never could use tushida about yourself. If you were to say, 저는 tushir, well, I don't want to spoil the answer, but if you were to say tushida about yourself, it would be wrong. That would be elevating yourself, which you never want to do. So tushida would only be for talking about someone else ate, who you want to show extra respect to, but never about yourself. So no, you would not be able to use it in this sentence, but you could use it in another sentence, he or she, someone else, the teacher barely ate. Then yeah, sure, you could do that. Okay, I almost didn't eat, meaning I barely ate. Like I did, you're not saying you didn't, but you barely did, right? So you're saying 거의 안 먹었어요. So I almost didn't eat. Not that I didn't, I did, but it was almost like I didn't have anything. I barely ate. 거의 안 먹었어요. I barely ate anything. I almost didn't even eat. 거의 안 먹었어요. And notice again how 거의 comes before the verb. So it wouldn't be 안 거의 먹었어요 or 안 먹었어요 거의 or anything like that. 거의 안 먹었어요. I almost didn't eat or I barely even ate. Okay, next one. This one, I'm going to give you a longer one. I think you're ready for it. You're ready for it. We can do it. It almost doesn't snow here. To snow. I'm not gonna tell you anything. No hints for this one. I want you to do it all on your own. Zero help from Billy. You can do it. Just give it your best shot. Doesn't have to be exactly what I have. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just do your best. Carrie! You throw that fancy sentence out and now you're throwing out a nice donation. Thank you so much, Carrie. Awesome. Can I do dabs? Can I do some 10 dabs for you? Hold on. Let's get the dab party music going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. Got to remember to turn that off, the background image off. One time I left it on for like 15 minutes of a lesson, I remember. Not too long ago either. Yeah, awesome. And I see many of you already have sentences coming in. 여기는 눈이 거의 안 오네. Praise Dara. Awesome sentence. Wonderful. And again, my policy on copying other people. If you write it yourself and you know what it is you're actually saying, it's okay to look at other people's things. Of course, you want to try it yourself first. But if you feel like, I think it's this, let me check. I don't have an issue with that. Now, as long as you're not going out and claiming you thought of that by yourself 100%, just be humble and realize that, I had to look, but at the same time, don't feel too bad about it because it's okay you're going to be listening to a lot of Korean speaking and copying what they say anyway. This is just part of that process. Paulina, very good. MJ Hammer, I can't read your message. A couple people retracted messages. I can't read it. Where? Why? I wanted to read what you were going to say. 여기 거의 눈이 안 와요. Okay? Tip it. I'll give you a hint though. Okay. You can fix this if I just give you this hint. What you wrote, it doesn't sound bad. I'll remind you though, 거의 is an adverb. Therefore, adverbs go where in a sentence? They go right before the verb. Now, if the verb's negative, that could be like 안 하다 or 하지 않다, whatever. But the adverb will go right before the verb in front of anything else, like nouns, even parts of the phrase, subjects, anything. Yes. 눈이 거의 안 와요. Nice. You got the hint, evolving brain. Perfect. And this is just a tip for all Korean, whenever you're making sentences, to have a really natural sounding sentence that has an adverb. The most important thing really is just the adverb's placement in the sentence. So you place the adverb in the right spot. Now it doesn't matter so much if you're using the perfect adverb for that situation. Maybe you're using like, you want to say exceptionally, but you only can think of the word a lot. Doesn't matter. It'll sound natural. It'll sound native level even if you simply just put the adverb in the right place in the sentence. And that is always going to be directly before the verb. Again, if the verb is negative, it'll be before an, like 안 하다 or whatever. Otherwise, it's just going to be directly before the verb. So even if you have an expression like 한국어를 공부하다, to study Korean, the verb is not 한국어를 공부하다. The verb is simply 공부하다. So if you wanted to say, I studied Korean a lot, and you're using the adverb 많이. I've heard a lot of beginners make sentences like 많이 한국어 공부해요. And it makes sense. Well, everyone will understand. I'll understand what you're talking about. But it sounds off. It sounds, oh, this person's not a native speaker right away. All you got to do is move that adverb right before the verb. Every time. This is a trick. You don't have to like calculate the sentence. You can think like caveman level. Ugh, adverb, ugh, verb. And the adverb goes right before the verb and that's it. You're done. 한국어를 많이 공부해요. I study Korean a lot. You don't have to think about the translation in English. Just think adverb before verb. The end. You're good. It'll sound 100% natural. Although there are situations where you can sometimes see adverbs in other spots. And if you show me a sentence, I can tell you exactly why it's in that spot. It's not going to be after. It's not going to be way earlier in the sentence unless it's like specifically referring to something else. If you're wondering, where do I put an adverb? Put it before the verb. Unless you have a specific reason for somewhere else, which you will later when you get to the advanced level. You don't need that though. You can sound 100% natural right now by always just putting it right before the verb. So that's a tip that I'll give you. Pro tip. Us advanced Korean speakers, just throw the adverb before the verb. And there are rarely cases where I won't use it right before the verb, but it'll always be really clear in the sentence when it's not. Like maybe for emphasis, I might add it on, add a topic marker like 많이는 뭐, and then I talk about something else. And then I go back to it. You can do that kind of thing, but it's still directly referring to the verb. I could have also just stuck it right before the verb in every situation and it'll still sound perfect. Hold on. We got what is that icon? What even is that thing, Paulina? Looking like a zombie? Is that supposed to be a caveman? I can't even see what it is. Okay, I got it highlighted, but I can't see it. It's a caveman. Right. Yeah, some things in Korean are like caveman style. Like it's better to think of something simply if you can. And 뻔하다 is another example. 뻔하다. Keep it easy for yourself. It's just the past tense. You can use whatever situation you're in, you could use a different form of the past tense. Like maybe you want to say not 했어요, but like 했으니까 because, 뻔했으니까 because I almost did this. That's fine. But just in your mind, think past tense. Just like in English, we say I almost did something. Now, there could be situations where you want to say, I wouldn't have almost done that had I not had. Like you can do that in Korean too, believe it or not. 99% of the time though, you're just going to use it in the past tense. So keep it simple for yourself. you can sound really native by just doing it the simple way. And then when you get to a higher level, you can then decide, oh, in this situation, I actually want to do this, and make it a little different. But it's not going to sound more native. It'll just sound a little different. Okay. Mira Rot asks, is there an important difference between 여기에는 or 여기에 or 여기에서? Yes. That would be a big topic if we were to talk about that. But yes, one has the topic marker. So check out the topic marker for emphasis. So like here, 에서 would be when something happens at a location. So if you're doing something at a location, you'd use 에서, versus if someone just simply comes to a location or something just is, the location of something simply is at a spot, you would just use 에 or 에는. Okay. Green troll. Yeah, it does look like a green troll. Onomatopoeia etymology. No, the only thing I have about onomatopoeia would be in my third book in the appendix. There's a section about onomatopoeia, sound words, stuff like that. But I don't have a separate resource for it. And as far as I know, there isn't one, but I would be interested if there was. I would buy one. If there was, I think it would be a cool resource. But as far as I know, I don't know of any. At least not one that I would recommend for learners. There are plenty of resources out there that I think are great for, if you're already Korean and you want to, or, advanced level and you want to learn that type of stuff, but not necessarily made for Korean learners that I would recommend. So no, I don't know any, and I don't have a lesson about it. Okay. It almost doesn't snow here. Now, the thing about A, you asked about A or 에서 or 에는 or whatever. This is not only 여기, but also 거기, 저기, 어디. Those four words, anytime you have A at the end, it can disappear and it has the same meaning. It's optional. You can say like, 여기 와요, come here. 여기에 와요. In fact, most often, 여기에, 거기에, 저기에, 어디에 will just be said as 여기, 거기, 저기, and 어디. That's it. It's the same thing. So I could have written 여기에는, but more often it's just 여기는. 눈이 거의, and then here's the verb. 안 와요. 안 와요 is the verb does not come. Literally, the snow does not come. It doesn't snow. 거의, directly before the verb. 100% natural. 여기는 눈이 거의 안 와요. 여기, here. So like, as for here, 눈, snow. 눈이 오다 is to, literally, snow comes, but to snow. 눈이 거의, almost, 안 와요. You'll see commonly 거의 used with 안, or negative verbs, meaning something barely does in English, but it almost doesn't, literally. So it barely snows here, if ever. For example, in LA, I've seen snow touch the ground in the area I'm in twice in my entire life. I've seen snow falling maybe, 5 or 6 times, but rarely ever does it touch the ground, and almost never does it stay for more than a few seconds. 여기는 눈이 거의 안 와요. 여기는 정말 눈이 정말 거의 안 와요. 진짜 거의 안 와요. 진짜 그냥 안 와요. 아예 안 오는 거예요. 하나도 안 와요. 온 적도 없어요. 전혀 오지 않... Keep going. It really never comes. I've never even seen it before. 여기는 눈이 거의 안 와요. It almost never snows here, is what we would say. Or literally, here, the noon, here the snow almost doesn't come. It almost doesn't snow here. Okay. Oh, someone's saying slow down. Yeah, don't worry. Those aren't sentences for the lesson today. Okay. Next sentence. And is this the last sentence? Yes. Okay. There's one more thing you should know about 거의, and that is commonly you'll see it used with the adverb 다. 다 means all or completely, or when it's used with an action verb, it can also have the meaning of finished. It's like you finished doing something. 다 했어요. 숙제를 다 했어요. Literally, I did all the homework, but we would just say, I finished the homework. Now, this is even more natural than using the verb 끝내다, which you might already know. 끝내다 would be like to finalize, to finish up, to complete, like a project or something. And you can also say 숙제를 끝내다, to finish up your homework. But if you just want to say I finished it, as in I'm done with it, 다 하다, 다 쓰다, to finish writing, 다 만들다, finish making, anything like that. So 거의 is commonly used with 다 to mean almost done, almost completely, almost finished, and then whatever you put it before. So, with that said, here's our last sentence. I almost finished packing. I'm going to give you the verb, don't worry. The verb for packing is really common and you should know it. Literally, they say to pack bags, to pack luggage is what they say in Korean. And the word is 짐. 짐 means luggage or, 짐 would just be your luggage. Now, it's not a literal bag. Like if you're talking about a bag, you can just say 가방, like normal. But 짐 is just anything that's encompassing stuff that you're carrying around. All of your belongings, your luggage is 짐. And they use it as 짐을 싸다. 짐을 싸다. To pack your bags, to pack your luggage. Okay. Yeah, you can use 싸다 with other verbs. You know, you could say like with your bag or packing whatever equipment you have. You could say like 장비를 싸놔야 돼요. I have to pack my equipment before I go to Korea. 장비를 싸놔야 되는데, but 짐을 싸다 would be packing your luggage. So, I almost finished packing. Let's see. And this is our last sentence. Take your time. Take a minute. I'm just going to check the member sentences first while we're waiting. MJ Hammer. Perfect sentence. Paulina. The tense. Since it's finished, past tense, you can rewrite the sentence and I'll check it again. It's interesting. So yes, perfect, Paulina. So I've got some nice tea. If you're wondering what I'm drinking, it's vanilla. I think it's vanilla tea, and I made it and it smells really nice. But I added even more vanilla to it. Then I heard some people add salt to their tea, so I added like a pinch, just a tiny pinch of salt to the tea to make the flavor a little stronger. It does taste really nice. It has like a nice strong vanilla bean flavor. It tastes like I'm chewing on a vanilla bean. It smells wonderful. Just like vanilla ice cream, but not sweet, obviously. That is great. Okay, let's see what everyone else is writing here. Who got the first sentence correct? Praise Dara again. Praise Dara, you're doing great. Praise Dara, I'm seeing your name here a lot. 짐을 거의 다 쌌어요. Bonnie, 거의 다 쌌어요. Perfect. 짐을 거의 다 쌌어요. Yeah, and you could also just do 짐 거의 다 쌌어요 without the object marker. Bonnie had that perfectly fine as well. 다 샀어요. 짐을 거의 다 샀어요. 짐을 거의 다 쌌다. Okay, if you want to do plain form, perfect. Salt distracts your tongue from the bitterness. That could be the reason. That could be a good point. It doesn't taste bitter. So maybe I didn't put in a lot either. It's not like we're not talking a teaspoon or anything. We're talking like really like a pinch, like between my two fingers amount. Just a little bit. A little salt makes things taste sweeter. Yes, that's true. M&M Twix. M&M Twix. Thank you. Welcome to the membership. As a member of my channel, you get to watch the abridged version of these live streams the same night that they finish. You also get access to member-only community posts sometimes. Like I'll ask polls to members before I ask to everyone else. You get access to the emoticons, not the caveman emote, but the other ones, as well as a little icon next to your name. So yeah, thank you again, Twix. And I want to improve my reading comprehension. Are there any beginner level books that you recommend for reading skills? Beginner level? No. There are no beginner level books that would have natural Korean. That's one thing I've found. There are some intermediate level books that would be good. I would say at the beginner level, I would just focus on things that you want to read and ignore how difficult it is. Because you're not going to find anything that's beginner level that's also natural Korean. It's going to be very awkward. I do know some sources out there that do have practice reading for beginners, but I will say it's very unnatural, and it's fine if you know that. So if you're interested in some of those, there are a lot of them. You can find them out. Just understand this is not natural Korean. And if you understand that and just treat it like sample sentences, then it's okay. If you'd like to do natural sentences, it's going to start from at least the intermediate to advanced level, and even higher into native level. I would say things that are going to be easier to read would be things like comics. I'll show you. Here's one that I have. This is intermediate level, I would say. I haven't started it yet. I just bought it because it was cute. I wanted to read it as in my free time, but I have other things to read first, so I'll get around to this maybe next year. It's a little comic book about like cooking. This is called Omuraise Jemjem. Omuraise Jemjem. And it's like a popular series. Let's see. 양파는 길어? 동그래? 동그래. 맞아. 그럼 당근은 길어? 동그래. 동그래? 동그래. So the mom's asking, are onions long or round? And the kid says round. That's right. Okay, well then how about carrots? Are they long or round? And the kid says round. And the mom says, 아니지, 봐봐. 당근은 길지. 잘 봐봐. Mom said, no, check it out. The carrots, they're long, right? Look. And the kid says, 아니지, no, 봐봐. Look, mom, no. And the kid holds up the carrot like this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. That just kind of gives you a taste for it. So there is going to be intermediate level and advanced level stuff in here because it's made for natives. But there is a lot of stuff in here where you'll be able to read it and be like, oh yeah, I get that, without even having to look in a dictionary. So that's one. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this book right here. I'm just saying comic books are going to have this sort of thing. Not just this, because I don't know if this is going to be fun or not anyway. I haven't started reading it. I have other books. This is a comic book that would be definitely more for intermediate. So that one's for natives, but it's kind of like a playful comic. This is a different series that I haven't read yet either, but I also will. 나 혼자만 level up. So I'm going to level up by myself, basically. And 너무 예쁘면 곤란한데. 뭐가 어떻게 된 거지? 말도 안 돼. 나도 기껏 해야 소환수 둘 불러. Yeah, it's going to be more like, see, he's talking about summoning skill. I mean, his summoning ability or whatever. Like, I don't even know what that is. 소환수. I'd have to look it up. Something about summoning. Now I'm kind of curious because I don't like not knowing words. Is there even an English translation for this? Summoner. Okay, summoner. I don't know. This would be more like, intermediate, advanced level. I would just say go to the bookstore. Oh, okay, and then you can even get Japanese comics, but I wouldn't recommend these unless you're already at an advanced level. So I have a bunch of these. This is my favorite Japanese comic, 괴짜 가족. It's ridiculous. It's totally immature and goofy, but I love it. It's really funny. I used to read it all the time when I was studying Japanese, and then when I transitioned to Korean, I bought a couple of these in Korean as well, because it's also popular in Korea. And everyone knows this series in Korea. It's super popular. But it's based on Japanese, so you're going to see different behavior. You're going to see different cultural elements. And although it's translated, it's not going to completely match, because people wouldn't do this in this situation. People wouldn't say this in this situation because it's about Japanese culture. Here, even there's a picture of the guy driving a car holding the Japanese flag. It's a Japanese comic book. It's hilarious though. Koreans love it too. But I wouldn't recommend Japanese comics. I would say get Korean comics. So go to the bookstore if you're looking for reading material and ask the worker there for comics made in Korea. That's what you want. There are Tons. So don't worry about it. You're not going to have any problem finding that. You can read magazines, right? Just find something that you're interested in, because more important than understanding it at the beginner level is that you're just trying. You're not going to be able to understand it anyway, at least not 100%, even with a dictionary. Even if you understand all the words, you're not going to get why they're saying that or the nuance of that. So don't worry about it too much. Just find something that you would like to read, that you can kind of enjoy, that would help you to branch out into reading other things. Maybe you find a book you really like. Then when you get to a higher Korean level, you can read it more. You can read their other works and maybe watch the drama based on that or something like that. So that's what I recommend. Webtoons, yeah, webtoons are the same thing. Popular webtoons will get published into comics like that. So those would be originally like webtoon comics that get really popular and they publish them. You can find tons of them in a bookstore. Any bookstore in Korea will have stuff like that. And that's literally what I did. I went to a bookstore and I didn't know what to buy. I just wanted to buy some reading material after I'm finished with my current ones. So I went to Kyobo, which is the largest book chain in Korea with gigantic stores, and they have them all over. I went up to the worker. It was this like 20-year-old kid with glasses, and he's really skinny, and he's like organizing the books. I'm like, oh, excuse me. He's like, oh yeah? I'm like, what's popular these days? And I'm like, what's good? I just basically asked him, what do you recommend? What's popular these days? What's selling well? And he's like, walks over, thinks for a little bit. He's like, oh, okay, well, this one here, this one here, this one here. Lots of people buy this one, especially this one, blah, blah, blah. He's like pointing all these things. I picked up, 2 or 3 of them, looked through, said thank you. And that's what I bought, is what the person recommended. So feel free to do that as well. Their job is not only to organize the books, but they also help customers when they're asking for stuff. And if you ask someone what they like, they'll probably recommend you something pretty cool. Okay, I almost finished packing. I almost forgot we had a sentence to do. 짐을 거의 다 쌌어요. 짐, luggage, your bags. 싸다, 짐을 싸다 is to pack your bags. So to pack your luggage. 거의 다, almost all. So literally, I packed almost all of my bags. But more naturally, we would say, I'm almost done packing. 짐을 거의 다 쌌어요. 짐을 거의 다 쌌어요. I've almost finished packing my bags. And that is the last sentence for this lesson. How do you feel about this form? Or 2 forms anyway. We did 뻔하다 and 거의. And I was reading your sentences, and everyone who wrote stuff, like pretty much everyone got it like perfect. So awesome. And we've got about 10 minutes left for a short Q&A, but that's the end of the lesson. Thank you for coming. And now I will do a short Q&A for any questions that you might have. Paulina, you say easy peasy, Korean easy. That's excellent. That's what I was hoping. That everyone would say that exact same thing, copy paste, after this lesson's over. Avion says, these were easy forms for once. Can I see the background, please? Yeah, sure. Hold on. Let me show you the background. This background is right next to the Ensol Tower. Except I think they might have renamed it as the Namsan Tower originally, but I think it's named to Ensol Tower. I don't even remember, but it's that really big tower you can see in Seoul. You can even walk there from the tourist area like Myeongdong and all those places if you want. Okay. Yeah, I'm really glad everyone was keeping up for this lesson. That was great. It'll always be Namsan. That's what I always refer to it as Namsan Tower. But it's like Ensol Tower, and I don't even know if they named it again. I haven't been there in like 5 years. I don't know. I haven't been there in a long time now. Okay. Paulina, you ask, in general, Hanja-originated verbs are more formal. Yes. If you see a verb that is Hanja, so it'll be like Hanja characters plus hada. And it's more than one character. Those ones will typically be more formal sounding, aka more fancy, more polite. I don't even know if it's polite's the word. Yeah, more polite, more fancy, more formal sounding than equivalents that have the same meaning that are just with Hangul. For example, 쓰다, to use something, or 사용하다, to use something. In fact, I'm actually filming a video about that this week, which will go up probably several months from now. You'll see it and you'll be like, oh, I remember Billy told me about that a long time ago. Yeah, that's another topic I'm going to be doing. But anytime you see a word that's in Hanja, it's going to be a little more formal if there's a non-Hanja equivalent. Nikki, great lesson. Yeah, thanks for coming, Nikki. Always appreciate your help with moderating. I'm not able to take care of everything. If I'm talking too much, I might miss the chat sometimes. Let's see. Sue, amazing. How can I say, how do I read this? How can I read this? Oh yeah, easy. Easy peasy, Korean easy. Whatever it is you want to talk about, you can say 그거. You know, whatever is you want to talk about. 그건, so like that thing. And then the main part is this part. 어떻게 읽어요? Literally, how do I read it? How do I read that? 그건 어떻게 읽어요? Or 그걸, however you want to say this. This could be whatever it is you're referring to, and this could change. Like that word, 그 단어, that vocabulary word, 그거, that thing, 그건, whatever. 어떻게 읽어요 is what you need. So yeah, literally just, how do you read it? 어떻게 읽어요? If you're talking about pronunciation, you could change it to how do you pronounce it if you want to say, but 읽어요 is fine. It means the same thing. How do you read that word? They're going to say it out loud. They're going to read it for you. So you'll get the same answer regardless of how you ask it. B, Ernesty says, just want to say thanks for keeping up the great work. Yeah, thanks for coming. Lauren Holton asks an interesting question. When would you recommend learning Hanja? It depends on what Hanja you're learning. If you're asking, when should I start learning how to read and write Hanja? You don't need that ever, unless you're looking for a specific type of Korean ability. So obviously natives can do that to a certain extent. But as far as writing, I would say never. You're not going to need that. Reading, though, if you want to have really high Korean level, you'll need some reading. But knowing just the sound that a character makes and its meaning, you can start that early on from beginner. And I actually have a series in my Korean FAQ course, my Korean FAQ videos. There's a section of those, and as well as a playlist on my channel all about Hanja, where you can learn which ones are important to learn. And I talk about like what they mean and what words they appear in. And it's okay to learn it like that. I just wouldn't focus on the writing and the reading. That's a little bit too advanced, even for people who are fluent speakers. I just saw the board flash and where'd it go? Oh, Evolving Brain. Evolving Brain. At this point, why am I not surprised to see your name up here? Thank you again, Evolving Brain. Let me give you 5 dabs and then I will check out what you wrote in your comment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you summarize how Korean... I knew it was going to be some very specific question. I knew it. Can you summarize how Korean grammar is taught to Korean school children? Is it anything like what you're going over? No. Koreans learn what is known as... They don't learn Hangugo. That would be like you learning English. I mean, you speak English. We don't learn English. We learn English literature, right? When you take an English class, what do you study in English class? You study the classics. You might read Shakespeare. Your teacher might even try to make you read Beowulf in its original English. Mine tried. It was interesting. You read, you read classic literature. You'll read Catcher in the Rye. You read all these different books. And then you'll make analysis. You'll write essays about that. That's what you do in English class, right? You don't learn A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's what you do in elementary school when you're first learning the alphabet, right? A is for apple, that kind of thing, preschool. You don't learn that in English class when you're actually learning the language. Koreans don't learn Hangugo. Koreans speak Hangugo. Koreans learn something called 구고, which might sound the exact same, and it is the same Hanja. 구고, literally, country, all language, the basically our language. 국어 would be the same thing. They would read classic works. They wouldn't necessarily go into Hanja and stuff like that, like old stuff. But no, they're going to be reading popular works. They're going to be discussing things like that. They're not learning about sound change rules. They're not learning about grammar rules. They're not learning about anything like that. This would just be more general about things that people who speak 한국어 would be interested in learning. Now, I've never taken a 국어 class before. I can't. I would have to go to school in Korea for that. But it's going to be more in-depth like that. So because of that, Koreans cannot teach you their language unless they have specifically taken a separate course for how to teach Korean. So just because I speak English, that doesn't mean I automatically know how to teach English. So it's the same thing. They would just learn like classic works, like, you'd read 홍길동 and stuff like that, or you'd read literary works about different people, right? Or this famous book or something like that, famous poetry, perhaps. And that'll depend on the class. But yeah, Daniela, Macbeth. We can't say that. The play that shall not be named. Was it the Scottish play? Is that what we call it? Scottish play? Is it? Daniela, thank you. And I always forget. I know you gave the same amount last time, and I forgot. It's still in my Google history about how much that Mexican peso equals. It's like $10. Thank you so much. And you have a question for me, which I would love to answer after I give you some dabs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And your question you're asking me is, do you have pets in Korea? I used to, kind of. My wife had a pet. She had a dog. You can actually see it on an old Instagram story, I believe from like 2013 or 2014. I made an Instagram post where I was talking Korean with my wife's family dog. And they actually had 2 dogs and they both passed away, unfortunately. Now, their kids, the dog's kids are still around, but I haven't seen them. I'm not sure where they were given to like someone else, a family friend, but I'm not sure where they are. And then my wife's brother had for a year or two a golden retriever. His name was Eddie. He was really annoying. He'd wake us up at like 5 in the morning, barking a lot because he just loved going outside. So yeah, but that wasn't our pet. I never had a pet in Korea before. I've had pets in the US before, but none recently. The only pet I could claim to have kind of is my cat. I have a Maine Coon cat who is over 17 years old. We got him back when I used to live at my mom's house, way before I got married, way before I even started learning Korean or anything. He was from early March 2005. So this was like before I was even learning Korean. And he's still around. He's so every time I go to my mom's house, I visit him, I pet him. He'll sit on my lap, watch TV, sit on my lap while I'm using the computer or whatever. So I guess it's kind of my pet because I did raise him for the first couple years and I've seen him a lot, but he's not at my house. He's not here. Yeah, Maine Coon, he's gigantic. Yeah, and he's really sweet. Unless you're the vet, in which case he might bite your artery. It's a long story. Yeah, the cat is a little dangerous when he's scared, but lately, yeah, he's just really calm because he's old now. He's 17 and cat years is very old. But other than that, seems pretty healthy. Okay, a couple more questions, then we're going to go for today. I don't want to take too much of your time. It was a great lesson, though. I'm really happy to see that everyone got the form. I always feel good if I teach something and then I tell you to make your own sentences and you get all of them. That just makes me feel really good. So I'm excited about next week. We're also going to have another lesson. There is one beginner topic. There are 2 intermediate topics and an advanced topic, I believe. So make sure to vote for tomorrow. You can choose what lesson you'd like to get for next week. It's fine, whatever it is. I'll make it worth your while, whatever you pick. Someone asked, is learning Korean grammar necessary for beginners? 100%. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to speak Korean without learning grammar. No, don't let anyone tell you you would learn Korean just by just by being exposed to it and practicing it. What happens is you'll learn to speak Korean and you'll have atrocious grammar and you'll never know and no one will ever tell you. Which is, I've seen it happen to some people. Just so you know, you do need grammar for every level of Korean. M&M Twix. Hey, M&M Twix. Thank you so much, M&M Twix. I want an M&M and Twix. I don't have any Twix at my house. The closest is I have a bite size, I have a fun size Snickers bar, but I don't have any M&Ms or any Twix. I need to rectify that situation. Oh, speaking of M&Ms, Del Taco? I think Del Taco, I hope they still have it. Del Taco has a new shake. Okay, this is not paid promotion. I thought it would be nasty. They have a strawberry M&M shake, and it's called like a piñata shake. It sounds disgusting, right? But it's a strawberry shake with pieces of strawberry in it, kind of like strawberry used on topping for ice cream. And then they add crushed M&Ms into it. It is so good. It is way better than it has any right to be. Yeah, so check it out. It's pretty good. And thank you again, M&M Twix. Sorry, going off on a candy tangent. Thank you for your lessons and the encouragement to continue my studies. Your enthusiasm for teaching is amazing and inspiring. I'm just glad you come here. I like seeing people come back. I like seeing the same names that I know, keep coming back for more lessons and learning Korean. That's really all it is you want to learn Korean. You don't have to be the person studying it for 4, 5, 6 hours a day, living in Korean, everything. You just have to keep doing it and keep practicing it. That's how you get there. Thank you for the donation. So I'm going to give you some dabs that I owe you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you can't tell, I've been working out a little bit, trying to get better at dabs. I have some weights that I'm lifting so I can do dabs better without getting tired. DQ Blizzard. Oh yeah, that sounds good too. Do they still turn it upside down and show you it's in the cup? Del Taco. Yeah, not Taco Bell. Yeah, don't get them confused. They're totally different. I would go to Taco Bell. I'd be like, can I get the Doritos taco? And they'd be like, oh, that's Taco Bell. Or vice versa. Del Taco doesn't have those. But then Del Taco does have that new shake, and their stuff's more affordable. I think Taco Bell is kind of a ripoff, personally. If you're not going to get their Doritos tacos, everything else they have is like way overpriced for what you get and not really that good. Anyway, yeah. Oh, you're asking which I prefer. Okay, if price is not an option, if I'm rich, right? So I've gotten lots of donations today. Let's see. Today I've gotten about $100. Got about $100 in donations today. So theoretically, I could go down to either one, right? I could $100 at Del Taco or Taco Bell. My goodness, that's so much. I would say if price is not an option, I really like the Dorito shell tacos. I think that Doritos was made just so it could be a taco shell. It's so perfect. It's ridiculously perfect for being a taco shell. But everything else besides the taco shells, and besides, I think that they also have nacho fries there, which are okay. But besides that, everything else, I would pick Del Taco. And I've got both in my neighborhood. They're both close to me. So I usually end up picking Del Taco more often. I don't know. What about you? Am I correct on that? Do people disagree, agree? Plus, Del Taco is just, you get the same thing. You get the same quality, but you're paying less money for it. I feel like Taco Bell, you're paying a lot for the name. Like, let's have Taco Bell, haha. But then it's like you get there, and plus the Taco Bell closer to me, there are a couple Taco Bells in my city. The one that's closer to me, they're usually rude. Like I'll go there, I'll be like, hey, can I get this? Our fry machine's gone today. Oh, okay. Can I get this? I just said we don't have any fry machine today. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was fried. Okay. So I don't know. I've had better experiences at Del Taco. Yeah. Sue asks, do I know Chinese? Only if you're talking about like Hanja. I don't know enough Chinese to say I know any Chinese. So I've studied it before, but I don't know much. But I do know a lot through Hanja. Yeah. Okay, last question. Paul Chung says, you want to have a quesadilla? Okay. All right, okay. Quesadilla. Quesadilla is something I will never buy, ever, because you can make it way better than any restaurant will give you at your house, easier, and tastes better. So you order a quesadilla at a restaurant, what do? They take a tortilla, they throw a handful of cheese, it's usually mozzarella or cheddar. They might chop up some grilled chicken, throw it on there, and then they'll either fold it or they'll put another tortilla on top, and that's it. And you're supposed to accept that and pay like $6 to $10 for it, depending on the size. No, I won't take it because you can do better at your own house. Okay, you want to make a tortilla, it takes a little, you want to make a good quesadilla, it takes a little bit more time than that. That's why you won't get that when you order it usually. First thing you need, your big frying pan, you put a little bit of oil in it. You get some oil on the bottom, you put the tortilla on, you kind of wipe it around both sides, get a little bit of the oil on, and then you cook it until the tortilla is just starting to get kind of warm, right? Not done, but just kind of warm. Flip it over. So now that warm side's on the top. Then you got to work quick. Put a handful of fresh shredded cheddar. And I mean more than you think you need. That's the secret, is extra cheese. So not like a small little, little cheese. No, you want like I could not fit more cheese in, okay, maybe not that much, but you want a lot of cheese in there. So you put, cheddar is the main one you want. You want to make it a little better, you can add, you can be fancy, add some mozzarella in it too, or maybe you have some like Gouda or other fancy cheese. That's fine. But the base, you want it to be mostly cheddar. That's where you get most of your flavor from. You could be like really fancy, you add like mozzarella and stuff. Doesn't matter again, just cheddar is your base. Then, really quick, again, if you want any meat or toppings, now's the time to add them really quick. So you can chop up some steak if you have it, whatever. I don't add anything. I don't think quesadillas need anything else. Fold it. So now the bottom is still cooking. Fold it, cook it, flip it, cook it again until the other side's done. Press it down so it gets all crispy and just cook until the cheese is completely melted. Take it off, you're done. How you serve it is also what makes it better. The restaurants might just give it to you with like their random like fake guacamole or something that's like avocado mixed with water or something. No. Get real guacamole, or get, just scoop out an avocado if you don't have any time, mix that up with a little bit of cream or milk or whatever, or just don't, just add some salt and you're done. Put a big scoop of guacamole with that, a scoop of sour cream, like a spoon of sour cream, and a little bit of salsa. That's it. You got your plate. You have your crispy quesadilla with just cheese in it. None of this chicken, none of this beef or anything else. You don't need that. That's a taco. Get out of here. I'm talking about quesadilla. The word queso is cheese. You want cheese in your quesadilla. I don't want chicken and stuff. And plus, if you don't have chicken, it stays hot better. Like the cheese will stay really melty. There's no like chunks breaking it up. So you like rip it off, dip that in one of their, guacamole or sour cream or salsa or whatever. You eat that, you're good. You're done. That's all you need. You've probably spent, in all the cheese you added and the tortilla and everything and the avocado, you spent less than like $2 in ingredients. And half of that is just for the avocado, right? And if the avocado feels like it, then you get the avocado. Otherwise, you don't even need to worry about it, and it's cheaper. You spend like $1 or $2 in ingredients, and you get this miraculous quesadilla. And that's what I do every single time. The outside will be really crispy. Inside's really hot and melty all over the place. Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, I'll make you a quesadilla if we ever meet. I can do them pretty good in Korea too, because you can get most of the ingredients over there. Oh, and I should have said flour tortilla. I don't know if I mentioned that. You can do it with corn tortilla, but I found flour will make it a little crispier outside and it tastes better. Yeah, and then you can change it up. So you want to add some tomato? Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. I'm just letting you know my preference is only cheese because I like that feeling of you take a bite and it's just juicy, soft cheese that just explodes with every bite. And chicken, if you put anything else in there, it becomes chewy and you lose that cheesy texture that's in the quesadilla. Now, you don't want to go crazy and add like 2-3 handfuls because then it's just going to be a ball of cheese. It's going to taste gross. But you do want plenty. You do want enough so that you're tasting cheese and not the tortilla. Okay, rant over. Thank you everyone for coming. And that was fun. Make sure to vote tomorrow for the options we'll have for our next Sunday stream. If you don't want to see the beginner class, if you want to see more intermediate classes, also please make sure to suggest a new topic, because members have that ability. If you're not a member, consider joining, become a member for a month. Say, Billy, teach this class, teach this topic. I really want you to teach this. And you can cancel. That's cool too. I will still take your suggestion. Again, thank you for coming, and I will see you next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.